to the Gathering Greenhouse, a podcast to help us grow together.
I'm Andrew.
And I'm Rebecca.
I'm the youth pastor.
And I'm the pastor for kids.
Did we just nail it?
That was really impressive.
Wasn't it?
Say, yeah,
do we need to do that again?
I don't think you did.
I think we got it.
So I just, for the record, because what you guys have probably noticed is that every podcast we never get the intro right. Is the first time you guys did it together, you both got it right. So that's...
And not to brag, I didn't even know what the intro was until about 2 minutes ago.
Probably because you've never heard it right before.
That's right. I don't know. It's different every time. What is it?
The podcast to help you green.
The Greenhouse Podcast. Yeah.
Helping you.
Love you, Steve.
Love you, Steve.
Yes.
Yeah, so as you notice, it's Rebecca and I today with John. We're here. Yeah, yo, John. We're here to talk about...
Please tell me you didn't have that on me when I did that.
I will not say it.
Oh, no.
He did this in case you weren't.
Signs over here.
Yes.
Oh, man. But we're excited. We're talking about the summit today.
Yes.
And the summit is all for 4th and 5th, 6th graders. We'll get more into that. But the whole idea with the summit is adventure and outdoors. And because of that today, I brought us in a treat.
And I'm so excited.
So I don't know if you noticed this sitting here. This is a lovely freeze-dried survival meal, Mountain House. Not a sponsor, but if you'd like to sponsor the summit, we'd be more than happy to take all your freeze-dried biscuits and gravy. So we actually tried this before we put water in it, and it's pretty bad. So it's like literally, they look like croutons.
Yeah,
right?
and they taste like chalky, stale croutons.
Yeah.
I'm baffled by the concept of biscuits and gravy that you make by just adding hot water. Like, how do you get a biscuit out of that?
Well, we're gonna find out.
If you just reached in and pulled out a whole biscuit, that would have been amazing.
No, I mean they're like little croutons.
It's just little bits of biscuit.
And then there was all this powdery stuff that I'm guessing was the gravy. And
is it gelatinous now?
Yeah, because it's probably just basically flour and
starch,
some
probably
thickening,
cornstarch.
Yeah.
John, you're in luck because I got you some, and Matt, if you want some,
Matt,
we even got some for you.
Hey.
So last week when I'm not here, Steve brings in Hardee's, and I'm here, and now I get to try mush.
This is really bad.
Like those prison movies where they put the slop in the in the food line. That's what it looks like.
Here.
Can it show on the camera?
This is a biscuits and gravy.
Thank you. That's
out of
great.
a bag.
Pull that bowl
Thank
out
you.
there.
It's somewhere between oatmeal and biscuits and gravy. Somewhere in there.
Have you ever
terrible.
had the dumplings? The kind of
It's like dumplings. Dude, it's dumplings.
Yeah, we can think of it as
Dumplings
dumplings.
is basically biscuits and gravy
Here you go, Matthew.
that you eat on a Sunday afternoon.
Matt's going to be on camera for a second.
This is sausage and
No? Okay.
dumplings is what we're eating right now.
Woohoo!
right,
Now I want to know how many servings are in there. Like,
All right,
can you feed a family with that?
Serving size, 1 cup. Oh, the container. So there's 2 servings in this.
Okay, that makes sense.
560 calories per container. So hey, you know what? If you're hiking all day, start your day.
That's the healthiest
If you're
biscuits
trying
and
to
gravy
reach
I've ever
the
heard
summit,
All right, so we all gonna try this together.
my
goodness.
You gotta
boy.
do like this. You gotta dink it.
you got toast.
Dink it.
Oh,
Dink
yeah.
it. It's not bad. Now,
It's not terrible.
does it need more seasoning? Like some pepper on this?
Hot
and salt
sauce?
And some hot
Say,
sauce?
They're right with the flavor is getting in the right direction. I can't get over the
I don't
texture.
know if they can get
This is like if you made biscuits and gravy soup.
Look,
Just watch it fall off the
it won't
spoon
fall. Oh,
for your
plop.
viewing pleasures here.
Can you hear it in the mic?
Look at that. Oh,
I gotta get one with sausage because I didn't get sausage. So
The
that's
sausage is kind of weird.
drip, drip, drop.
It's like Bacos.
It's a little too.
I kind of want to eat it, and I kind of don't want to eat it. I don't know
think
how to
it's not
explain
bad.
that.
I mean, it's not
the
terrible.
The biscuit piece is actually not the worst part. The mushiness. It's the sausage is
a little too
chewy.
hard.
Yeah.
Too chewy.
It's not.
Now,
It's like stovetop
honestly,
stuffing.
I mean, if you woke up early in the morning in a tent and rolled out of a tent,
It would
and
be
this
good.
is what you had to eat before you went hiking.
Here's what I will say. These are not the worst biscuits and gravy I've ever had in Ohio. So
Burn. Boom, roasted.
Somebody's coming for you for that.
So yeah, I mean, not bad. I definitely, if you're gonna get this, bring a couple packets of pepper and some hot sauce.
Matt wants it. Here you go.
Matt, hey,
You like it?
Take the rest of it. It's all you.
you can take the rest of that.
Matt's trying to stay out of the camera.
I think that bag itself was $8.
I like it.
It's not terrible.
I'll say that's
Why, but
so. if I was like on a hike or something overnight, like, and I just didn't like that would be okay. I'd be okay with that. You know, it's not ideal.
Really good. We were hungry.
And they have other ones. Like I almost got the egg. There's one with egg, bacon, and hash browns. But then I saw this and I was like, we got to try that. This is probably grosser looking, so we got to try
it. It was definitely
now, if
grosser
you told
looking.
me you were making biscuits and gravy and then you served me that, I'd be pretty upset.
Yeah, like if I invited you over.
We come to your house, I'm making biscuits. Yeah, biscuits and gravy.
We're going to cook in the yard today.
Oh, man. I'm very particular about biscuits and gravy, though. Like, it's my favorite breakfast food.
Is it?
Oh, I love it. And Hardee's is actually my favorite because I grew up eating Hardee's every Saturday. But then I'm very particular about the biscuit and gravy. Like, they have to be...
Both have to be right.
Yeah.
Super secret, because I know you do this too. The best secret for, like, biscuits is the frozen Pillsbury biscuits. Or whatever reason, they cook super well. Really they taste good.
Biscuits.
Yeah.
Really good biscuits.
So if you don't feel like making biscuits from scratch, that's your next best.
Yep, the home style frozen Pillsbury.
I still have some.
You know, I just realized what I was getting flashbacks of, and it was like it was almost more like grits.
I need some
like
more.
You think?
Without the graininess, but it had like the thickness of grits.
A little bit of grits.
We don't talk about grits ever on the podcast.
I love
I feel
grits.
like you like grits. Do you like
love
grits?
them.
I don't like them.
You don't? Have you ever had like them like baked like shrimp and grits?
So I was going to say.
Oh, they're shrimp in there. Sure.
The first time I ever had grits that I liked was in Louisiana, and it was right after Katrina. We went down on a mission trip.
Yeah,
and they served us grits, but they also served with it sausage gravy, cheese, and all this stuff, and it was so good. And then I was like, oh, I actually do like grits. I didn't realize what I had been having before was just grits with like salt and pepper. Like that's not good.
I've always had people like, oh, did you put like a lot of butter in there and salt? I'm like, well, yeah, it's like the same thing with popcorn, right?
Yeah.
Like if you just ate popcorn without salt and butter, it's kind of like,
Let's just be real. Popcorn is the delivery for the butter. Like it's same with lobster.
Have you seen like
Yeah,
you know how at the movie theaters they let you do your own butter?
Oh, you just
Have you seen the people who will stick straws?
Yeah, it goes all the way down.
That way they can get the bottom of like the popcorn.
That's
with the
kind of
butter.
genius though,
Because
right?
what happens is the top gets too soggy if you do it, but then the bottom doesn't get it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Genius, right?
That
there.
is genius.
So-
Hillbilly innovation.
Going along with our survival
Theme.
here because we're talking about the summit. We'll get more to that in a second. I thought it'd be fun to talk about. Hey, if you were about to be shipped off in the middle of a rainforest, the woods, or whatever it may be, what are 5 things that you're going to take with you to survive?
Okay, you want me
Do you
to go
wanna
first?
Yeah,
Yes.
go ahead.
So, because of my extreme paleness, number 1 is sunblock. I mean, it's
SPF
worth
what?
the wait. 75, like if I can get it. I wear 70, right? And I need it, like because I burn even. You would be amazed.
Have you seen that Office episode where Dwight and his friend talk about homemade sunblock, and they're like, the EPA wouldn't allow this much DEET or whatever it is.
I remember.
So
That's a good version.
You guys, but my wife's ginger, and so she actually also has a sun allergy. So like she's allergic to the sun, and at the rehearsal dinner before a wedding, Becca's dad gave me like a huge thing of sunscreen and said, "You'll need this." And I thought it was just a funny joke, but my sunscreen budget, I didn't even think you'd have to have a budget for sunscreen, is like quadrupled since I got married to Becca. So
You guys ever thought about like going somewhere like Alaska?
yeah, I mean,
where it's dark all the time?
Yeah, many days.
but then they have like the 24-hour like day.
That's true.
right.
That's
So like,
even worse than
I would never sleep. Like I can't sleep when there's light coming in. Can't do it. So number 2, because I've seen Survivor, would be Flint, like some way to start
Michigan?
a fire, huh?
Flint.
Yeah, I'm
Take the
gonna
whole
bring.
city
I'm
with
gonna
you?
bring Flint with me.
She's gonna
If I'm gonna, I'm not gonna make that joke. I'm not making it. Also, I need to bring my glasses because I cannot see without my glasses. And I thought you can also start a fire with glasses too. Have you ever done that when you were a little
sunlight?
kid? Yeah, you can. It actually works. We tried it.
like on like what, some like dry leaves or something
Yeah,
like that?
I
mean,
think
yeah, it's like a
I think it was
magnifying glass,
fall
right?
leaves. It really does work.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And then I would, those little water straw things they make that have the filtration, so you can drink water out of the thing.
The dirty water.
Life straw.
Yeah. Life straw. That's
cool.
a good name for that. And then you have to have a knife because you have to. See if you catch a fish or something, you have to gut it so you can cook
Yep,
it.
exactly.
Yeah.
John,
Unless
do you want to go next? Or you want me to?
You go next. Let me think
All right.
about this.
I'll say I threw this on you just a second ago. So first thing is a knife. I like when I was a kid, I collected pocket knives, and I always have knives, but like probably a nice fixed blade knife, or because you gotta make shelter, you gotta cut stuff down, or fillet a fish or whatever. Fire starting kit, which probably is like a flint. Have you ever seen like on Survivor? Speaking of Survivor, like those fire starting like challenges, how fast you can do it
with the rubbing and the
I tried to get really good at one time, but
you can't
not
do it.
not very good. A canteen, so that way, like as I boil water, I can have water with me. Rope to help make
Repel,
shelter
gotta
or
repel.
whatever, and then a fishing kit. I just put fishing kit, and that's my 5 right there.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Fishing kit.
Yep. So I'll start. You gotta have a good knife. I like the fishing idea. That actually is really clever because there's always fish.
Yeah.
It's good food. Water filtration, I would want something for that, either a straw or like, you've seen there's a bunch of those, like even like the charcoal things that you can make.
Yeah.
I would probably, if I got to pick, I'd bring a really nice like heavy, depending on heavy jacket or rain jacket, something like that, depending on the climate. And then flint. That's smart. What am I at? Is that 4 or 5?
I have no idea.
4. The fifth thing I would bring to juke you, my Bible.
Whoa.
So it can get rained
Sunday
on and
school
wet.
answer.
We don't need to bring our Bible.
I'm just playing.
I got the
We
word
have it
hidden in my
memorized.
heart.
Yes.
I would
down
bring
in my heart. Where?
a delicious bag of biscuits and gravy. Is one of the fifth thing.
Hey, you know what? To eat, and then the other half to use to make your shelter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Just kind
if you
mortar.
ever get bored and you just need to like chew on something, just throw the hard pieces.
Hard
in.
pieces in.
He'll be nerves.
Oh man! All right. So the last fun
Chunky.
thing here: survival stories.
Right.
A story of a time that like you had to survive, or that you did survive, looking back. And I know you told me yours a little bit ago, so I'm
Yeah.
gonna let you go first with yours.
Andrew's story is much better than my story is going to be, but when you're a Cajun kid, it's a wonder you live because there's all kinds of things that could bite you, kill you, all these things that could happen to you when you're a kid. But my parents tried to kind of mitigate control it a little bit. But we had this camp and it was out in the middle of nowhere. It's up on pilings because the ground's not solid there, right? So it was wilderness. It really was. But they had put this canal in, so it was like a straight canal so that the oil-filled boats could get in and out and stuff. Well, we were allowed to swim in there. But the problem was not only were there like oyster shells like down there on the bottom because my grandpa would shuck the oyster, which I call Papa. He would shuck the oysters and throw them in the water down there. So,
Yeah.
but we were allowed to swim down there, but we had to have our shoes on because of the oyster shells down there. But the other thing is there were alligators in that water a lot of the time. And so, an alligator would typically hang on. You can see its head. We all know what they look like down there. They're very common. We see them all the time. So my parents would actually let us get in the water if they could see an alligator if it was pretty far out. And everybody's probably tired of hearing me tell the story, but so what they would do is they would watch for these things, and then when the alligator's head would disappear down the way, then they would be like, "Get out!" You'd have to get out, and then when it popped its head back up again, you could get back in. Would you let your kids do that?
No, because like my question is like
No, you wouldn't. Would you?
I'm nodding like.
Oh, okay.
I'm just wow.
My question is like when you got there, how did you not know there was alligators already under the water?
Well, there probably were.
So like, is it that you don't have to worry if they're underneath it because they rise when they're gonna attack? Is that
Yeah.
like
Well,
the thought,
they sort of sit there and they wait. They hang out.
Yeah.
And they're always like sunning themselves on logs and stuff. So you don't really think of them under the water so much as you do hanging out on the top.
which is such a like a good example of how we see problems. Like as long as we don't see the problem, it's not real, right? So if I can ignore my issues, they're not causing me problems right now. They're not there.
That's true. Leave it to a pastor to take an alligator and turn it.
That's because I brought my Bible with me.
And also
That's true.
Jesus
That's true.
juke. I was going to say also Jesus juke us.
What's the biggest alligator that you've seen? Like that you remember as a kid that like you swam within?
Did you ever wrestle them?
I remember there was this one time my uncle literally did. Like he would kill him. There's all these pictures of him on these like huge alligators.
That's amazing.
Sitting on top with like his knife, because he hunted them.
Yeah.
So I remember one time we were swimming. My dad had a house camp. We called them camps, but it's like a houseboat. It's on pontoons, and we would just go park that wherever and hang out, out there. But there was this boat coming by, and these people were skiing. There was this huge alligator. I mean, at that time, he was at least like 10 feet. He was huge, and my dad was like, "Hey, there's an alligator," like yelling at these people, and they're like, "Huh?" And then when they realize, because they're skiing, so there's somebody in the water, so when they're that close to you, because he was close, and so dude was scrambling out of the water to get in the boat.
What was that ramp I just hit with my skis?
Very bumpy.
Okay.
Do you know the difference between an alligator and a crocodile?
I do.
Yeah. You'll see an alligator a little later, but the crocodile you'll see in a while.
I
knew he wasn't being serious.
I was going to say
You're
their
literally
snout
like-
is
their nose.
different. Their
It's- yeah.
snout.
And it's and the caiman is like the really skinny one.
Uh-huh.
And,
And
the
smaller,
skinnier they
right?
get, the more aggressive they get too. It's
Oh, is that true?
Caiman's the most aggressive, and alligator is not super aggressive, but crocodiles are also.
Oh, it's
more
really not.
aggressive.
Like if
Yeah.
I was a crocodile, I would, it would be scarier. But alligators are,
You don't mess with them, they probably won't mess with you. And
they don't, unless you, like
get in your swimming
hit them
pool
with your
and
boat or something.
As long
right?
as you can see them, they're fine, right?
I hope we're alive. So
As long as you can see them, they're fine.
Yeah.
So you survived the alligator infested
did.
water.
that sounds better. Alligator infested water.
I survived.
When you
Yeah.
start your story, it's amazing that any kid survives. I was like, is that your story? Like you just survived the
Childhood.
invasion? Like, yeah.
I survived being a Cajun child.
Well, I'll tell you what. When I go home, like it's funny. As soon as my feet hit the ground, usually I fly into New Orleans. Usually my feet hit the ground, and I know that I need to look down when I walk. So my brain automatically, because there's snakes, there's spiders, there's all kinds of stuff that can get you. Alligators.
Well, that's like, my story. So my survival story is when we were in Arizona.
Yeah.
And when we first moved to Arizona, I'm like, who chose this as a good place to live? There's no water. It's 110 degrees. Everything wants to kill you. Even the cactuses like jump out and get you. There's bobcats. There's Gila monsters. There's rattlesnakes.
Wait, what's a Gila monster?
It's
What's
this
that?
black and orange lizard that gets about like this long. And they say the bite is actually like worse than the diamondback rattlesnake.
Really?
Yeah. We caught one, and my buddy, I have a
caught
picture. I brought my friend from Kentucky.
Oh,
I was a Kentucky kid, just catching snakes and lizards or whatever. But he took one, and I have a picture of him holding it up next to his face because he caught a baby one. So there's a picture of him, but he's plugging his nose because he didn't want it to climb up his nose. So yeah.
That would be terrible.
But my survival story is actually the 2 days for my sister's wedding. She was marrying actually one of my good friends, a family from Kentucky that moved out there that called us to Arizona, a church there, Brandon. And so the bachelor party was we were all going to go up to this place called Reddington's Pass. This is because Tucson's surrounded by mountain ranges. And Reddington's Pass, there's a lot of those like off-road trails, like rock climbing with your truck. There's gun ranges up there, so you can go up there with your guns and shoot. So
you hike in with your gun to shoot?
oh no, we just drive the truck.
Oh, you drive. Okay.
So we loaded the truck up with like food, the guns, and just like we're gonna go have a good time. I remember we decided to go way back because they knew of this place about 12 miles back. Now
wow.
you're driving on rock like gravel roads, so it took us about an hour, probably a little more hour just to get 12 miles back. And we spent the day back there having a good time, and we're probably back there probably like 3 or 4 hours. And on the way back, I remember Brandon was like, I'm going to get us back there real fast. Like record time. So he's flying on this like dirt road and it's rocky and we're all just jarring around in this truck. And all of a sudden, like we come to this spot where there's a dip in the road with water. And we all saw him hesitate at first, but then he just gunned it, hit the water. And as soon as he came up out of the water, the engine dies. And we weren't even a mile back in. Mm-hmm. And now keep in mind, like it takes over an hour to get there. No cell phone service. It's like 5 o'clock at night at this point, and like we saw no one. Like there's no one, and so we're just sitting there like, what do we do now? I'm gonna keep the story shorter. It's a really long story. After about 4 or 5 hours of hiking, we finally found a group of guys that were hunting javelinas. Because it was javelina hunting season, which was like wild boars, basically. And at this point, it was like dark. And like during the day, this was in November, it was probably like 85 degrees. But when the sun goes down, it drops down to the 30s.
Yeah.
And we're all wearing T-shirts and shorts. And so
Preparation.
they tow our truck back to where we get cell phone service. It takes 2 hours. This guy was so nice.
That was nice.
Get cell phone service and call. And at that point, we're in the middle of this desert and it's freezing cold. And like, it's illegal to make a fire, but we're like, this is survival. So like,
Yeah.
we're like finding sticks. We make a fire. And it's about 2 hours later, they finally find us. But from the time we broke down to the time we got down, it was like 13 hours of just trying to figure out what the heck are we going to do.
Yeah.
And it was funny because it was 2 days later, my sisters Mary and Brandon, and like no one can get a hold of us. And that day, I think someone actually drove off one of the mountains like an accident, which so like they were freaking out a little bit. But so yeah, that was like we actually made a fire. And like I remember just like
a man.
people were like, "Well, it's Arizona. It was warm." I'm like, "No, November at night when that sun goes down, it gets cold.
T-shirt and
cold.
shorts.
Yeah. So
Right? See, this is why moms lecture kids when they're going to camp.
yeah.
Make sure you bring this. Make sure you bring that.
Something warm. So yeah, that was my survival story. There's a lot to it, but it was a good one. John, do you have any that you want to share?
Not that good, but it's similar. It was my sisters. My sisters are 5 and 7 years younger than me, right? So I think it was her like 10th birthday. So I would have been 15. She wanted to go floating, which is just we get in a canoe and you float down a river, right?
Yeah.
And if you've never been, what you do is you get your canoe, and then they say, hey, just go down the river and stop at this place, and that's where we'll pick you up, and they'll bring you back to your car and all that. So we're going. It's not supposed to rain at all that day, and then out of nowhere, this huge storm comes out, and our cell phones are all in like lock boxes, waterproof boxes, but we don't have service anyway because we're in the middle of nowhere, Missouri, and this storm comes in and it's crazy. There ended up being like tornadoes that day too.
Man.
So like my mom had like 2 girls in her canoe, and then I had like 2 other girls in my canoe, like 10 and under, right? So not really any help in that. So we're just going until we find a place where we can, get out. And so they're huddled underneath these plastic canoes. It was hailing, hail's running down, no cell service. There's nobody around. So I hike up out of the riverbed.
Yeah.
There's a road that goes alongside, and I'm just running up the road, hoping somebody drives by. I find a house that's like, few hundred yards off the road. So I run up there, banging on the door, nobody's home. Come back down, the next one, bang, 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 nobody's home. Come back down, and then the guys who were supposed to pick us up were looking for us, apparently. And so they found me, and yeah, but that was,
Wow.
I just remember, and then I was like, I hope I remember where they were,
Your canoe trip
Sorry, Mom.
quickly turned into a whitewater
It
raft.
ended. I just remember because like you had to kind of like, it was pretty steep, so you had to like kind of climb up and over. And so I remember we were just putting the kids up to like he was grabbing them. It was like like those scenes of like Vietnam where they're like throwing the kids at the helicopter.
Yeah.
It's like I was like take them. Please. No, I'm like 15.
Yes.
It's crazy.
I bet that was pretty scary, especially
Yeah.
when having like young ones in that
They
situation.
certainly
Yeah.
never forgot that. I'm sure
yeah.
those girls. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So now to the summit.
Okay. Yay.
So Rebecca, what is the summit? You give us just a quick
So
breakdown.
the summit is for 4th, 5th, 6th graders. And the summit is sort of like extra things that super important extra things that we want our kids to know. So when they go into adulthood, they stay in the faith. They keep following Christ.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, I know you go. You say what you think the summit is.
What I think summit
I would
is?
say the other thing later.
I
Yeah.
would say I think we've all been saying so people are clear. This is not a this is in lieu too of what's going on. So it's not replacement ministry for students at all. This is extra of what's going on, that we want our kids to grow deeper in their own faith. And I think that brings us to what is this? The first year, it's a 3-year cycle, and the first year is called No, which we're calling outfitters. Because when you're about to climb a mountain, you get outfitted. You go get your gear, which is kind of why we talked about what gear are we going to take and survival stories. Like when it comes to our faith, like the first year is how are we going to outfit them for that? So the first year is No. So when you hear that first year of No, like what does that mean? Like what does it mean for parents to know that that's the first year that their kids are going to go through?
So No is like fundamentals of Christianity, sort of, and in terms of like, here's the Bible, here's who wrote it, here's why it's credible, here's how we answer these hard questions you might have about what's in the Bible and how we can believe it's true, and its credibility, all those things, like
Yeah.
just building, because, we want them to be able to know that nobody's just making this stuff up.
Yeah.
Like the Bible is legitimate. It stands on its own. It doesn't need any supplemental materials besides what's in it.
That's good.
Like it's just a fascinating, amazing book, and we want them to know why. We want to share the kind of mysterious, kind of like glory, not to be weird, but kind of the mysterious, like powerful, weird. Like the Bible is just so cool. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I get that, and that's what I've been saying. We don't want these kids just to piggyback off their parents' faith, because I think that's like a lot of us grow up with that, and so I've been saying like we want them to know their faith. And we want them to own their faith. And before they can own their own faith, they have to know what that is. And so sometimes those hard questions of how do we know this is real? How do we know who wrote this? Why is it credible? Those questions lead to good answers, which can lead to them having a stronger faith. So that first
Yes.
year is outfitting them for their own faith, like to understanding what this is and how we can believe it.
we're kind of like cutting into their doubts, like
Yeah.
saying you don't have to doubt this.
Yeah.
This is
Second year is grow. We're calling this base camp because, before you climb a mountain, you're there
Gotta
at
go to base
the
camp.
base of the mountain. And so grow is, okay, now that you know about the Christian faith, the basics, the apologetic questions, to how you're going to take that and grow it deeper and into your own thing before you start climbing. And so that second year, next year, will be growing in their faith.
that'd be exciting.
And then the third year is go, which is called the summit. So now
Yep.
that you know your faith and you've grown in it, we want to teach you how you can go out, and not leave the church without leaving your faith, which is something David
Yeah,
says a lot.
that's a good way to say it.
And be able to also just fulfill the Great Commission, because we know those students are called to do that as well.
Yeah, but I would like for them to feel confident, because they're gonna come up against so much adversity and so many ideas that are antithetical to what like the Bible says. Like let's make them be like, no, we knew this was coming, and here's why we know that what you're saying is not true.
Yeah.
I was taught this. I know this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so here's a good question then, because you have a kid that's going to be in this.
I do. Yes.
So the question is, why are you going to send your child to
my
the summit?
girl show my daughter's going to be in 6th grade. She's in 6th grade now.
Yeah.
It's just exactly what I've been saying is I would like for her to feel very confident in her faith when she, walks out the door. Like at our house, we talk about, our kids they're PKs. So we talk about nerdy Bible stuff at the table all the time, because I'll be like, oh my gosh, I did a study today on so-and-so. And there's 2 guys named Uz and Buzz in the Bible. And they're like, no. And I'm like, yes, like those kinds of things. But this is nitty gritty stuff. And, I'm glad that you're involved also, because it's not just mom saying it, from my personal thing. But I am just really, like I said, want her to be that young lady who knows she's got the base, the confidence of my faith is true and Jesus is real. And so I'm going to go out and I'm going to know that he's going to take care of me because he promised he would.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I just want that for her as a young lady.
Yeah, and I could honestly just say ditto to that.
Yeah.
But one thing I'm going to add, because this is for parents. Why are you going to send your kids to this?
Yeah.
That, of course. But then second to that, I always say, like, man, this is a great way for those kids to form relationships here in the church, too.
Yeah.
Like deeper relationships and friendships that we believe that they'll probably have for a lifetime.
Yeah.
Going through these 3 years. So, not just the spiritual formation, but also the relationships that are going to be made here at the church. Because a lot of times, they're here once, maybe twice a week, where this is just that thing that they're going to be in with those same friends for 3 years doing something. So it'd be cool.
It's got to be way fun too. Like, I just think that's great for them. It's fun. It's a regular, like a check-in. It's fun. And, youth groups become families, little families.
Yeah.
So I think this just enhances that.
The question after this, because that one was for the parents. Now this one's for the kids.
Yeah.
Why do you think kids would want to be a part of this?
Well, because it's going to be fun, right? Yeah. It's going to be fun. They're going to earn prizes. Were we supposed to go there yet? But they're going to earn prizes as they go. And, we've been doing this for a while. And I think we've got a good grasp of what they enjoy.
Yeah.
And so I think we're going to put our best foot forward and, do our best work. And it's going to be great.
Yeah. So let's show them a little bit of the swag here, the summit
So here's
swag.
So this is what is that called?
Carabiner.
This thing on the top is a carabiner.
Yeah, and this is like
and then there's like
survival rope.
paracord. So we're going to have basically we're going to need meet for 9 times a year for Summit, right?
Yep.
And so each time the kids come, they're going to receive what, Andrew?
A carabiner.
Yeah, a colored one.
Each week, we're going to leave them with what we're going to call a cliffhanger, something that they can do that month.
Yes,
and if
it's
they
little.
come back, they'll get another carabiner to hook on. So
Yeah.
that way, at the end of it, they can show everything they've kind of done as well. And we also have a cool thing that we're going to do that if each kid comes, we said, at least six of these, that at the end, we're going to take them to a trip to Kings Island at the beginning of the summer. So that way we'll be able to take them out and do some fun stuff. We're also going to have food every time we do this as well.
Yeah.
But then
There'll
the
be
backpack.
games.
Show the sweet backpack.
So when you sign up for Summit, you get one of these awesome little backpacks that say Summit on there. And you can hook your carabiner on a keychain on paracord. You can hook it to there if you like. And so when you come, you'll be able to show what you earned.
Yeah. So yeah, the summit, we're excited about it. What should they be looking for next? Well, we're going to be sending out mailers to everybody, to all the families, and this will have your carabiner and ways for you to sign up for this. It's going to be the 4th Sunday of every single month, except November. It will be the 3rd. And in December, we're not going to meet. Other than that, it'll be the 4th Sunday of every month from 12 to 2:30.
Yes, and we'll feed them lunch.
We'll feed them lunch. So that way you can leave, go have your lunch, and your kids will be here being fed physically
In more
and
ways than one.
spiritually. Yeah, so be looking out for those things. And obviously, you could reach out to any of us with any of these questions, but we're really excited about this program starting that. The whole staff has actually invested in this for just about a year now. Now we're getting ready for that launch, and we're excited for it.
Yeah, there's so much science behind this time period in kids' lives. This is when you really start. This is when you really need to make kids strong in their faith, because now once they start hitting high school and those kinds of things, they're going to start really veering off into not wanting to stay.
Well, that's a good point that you bring up. I mean, why are we doing 4th, 5th, and 6th? Because we know studies show that that's like the most pivotal time in a kid's life where it shows whether they're going to be a lifelong follower of Christ or not if they get it at that point. Now, obviously, God can and will do anything, but we just know statistically that group right there is super important. And this is also going to be for parents too. I mean, we want to partner with parents with the summit and give them things that they can talk and reinforce at home as well.
Yeah, and hopefully we're introducing new ideas that the kids have not really tackled before in like Sunday school or in church. Yeah. And so parents can give them an opportunity to kind of spur on some conversation. About those things.
Well, I'm excited. I'm excited to be partnering with you. She's
fun.
So creative and so awesome.
Is he. Yes.
So awesome. So it's going to be a good time. I don't know how this ends. Like a musician, like starting a song and ending a song.
Yeah.
So I don't know how we end this song.
We should do the thing where we just kind of talk for a while and just kind of slowly like fades out over like 2 minutes, but
Or you should freeze frame.
Freeze frame.
Freeze frame.
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah, so this is
You just
So anyways, we were talking.
this is so cringy. This is so cringy.
Yeah.
Hey, I can end this for us, really.
Go hit it.
It's over. Bye.